Welcome to this explosive edition of Entertainment News, where we dive headfirst into the chaos that unfolded on the set of Good Morning America just a few days ago. An incident that's got the entire world buzzing like a hive of angry bees on a hot summer day in Oklahoma. Picture this: the bright lights of the ABC studio in Times Square, the chatter of excited crew members milling about, and the aroma of fresh coffee wafting through the air as the cameras prepared to roll for what was supposed to be a routine promotional spot for country music superstar Blake Shelton's latest album, Backyard Revival, a heartfelt collection of twangy anthems celebrating rural life, lost loves, and the simple joys of a cold beer under the stars. Blake, with his signature Oklahoma drawl, easy grin, and that towering frame that makes him look like he just stepped off a John Deere tractor, strolls onto the set looking every bit the laid-back legend he's become after years of dominating the charts, coaching Heartbreak on The Voice, and charming audiences with his unapologetic authenticity. He's dressed sharp but casual, a crisp button-down shirt rolled up at the sleeves revealing forearms and from farm work, jeans that have seen better days but fit just right, and those scuffed cowboy boots that tell stories of honky-tonk nights and dusty rodeos. Across from him sits Michael Strahan, the former NFL powerhouse turned charismatic co-host, exuding that effortless charisma with his megawatt smile, tailored suit hugging his athletic build, and an energy that's part friendly giant, part relentless interviewer who's tackled everything from Super Bowl wins to celebrity scandals without breaking a sweat. The audience, a mix of early rising fans clutching their mugs of Joe and wide-eyed tourists snapping discreet photos, settles in as the theme music swells, that upbeat GMA jingle promising a morning filled with inspiration, information, and a dash of star power. Robin Roberts kicks things off with her warm, welcoming vibe, introducing Blake as the voice of country soul who's selling out arenas faster than you can say God bless the USA, and the applause is thunderous, echoing off the glass walls like a standing ovation at the Grand Ole Opry. Michael leans in, his eyes twinkling with mischief, ready to steer the conversation toward Blake's new tracks, perhaps a teaser about his upcoming tour dates that promise fireworks, fiddles, and fan sing-alongs under massive LED screens. But oh, how the best laid plans of mice and morning shows often go awry, because lurking beneath the surface of this seemingly innocuous chat is a powder keg of opinions, egos, and the kind of cultural clash that turns polite chit-chat into a full-blown firestorm. As the segment begins, the banter flows easy at first, to Blake cracking jokes about his ranch life back in Tishomingo, where he and wife Gwen Stefani escape the Hollywood glare for quiet evenings with their blended brood of kids, dogs, and horses, sharing stories of teaching the little ones to fish in the lazy creeks that wind through his sprawling property dotted with wildflowers and ancient oaks. Michael nods along, chuckling at the tales of Blake's infamous sweet tooth, confessing how he'd trade a Michelin star meal for a plate of Gwen's homemade peach cobbler any day, and the chemistry feels genuine, like two old buddies shooting the breeze over tailgate beers. The viewers at home, tuning in from cozy kitchens across America, smile at the screen, sipping their cereal bowls, blissfully unaware that the next few minutes will shatter the morning calm like a dropped coffee mug on a tile floor. But then, subtly at first, Michael's questions start to pivot, probing deeper into the heart of country music's evolving landscape, asking Blake about the genre's embrace of diverse voices and how traditionalists like him navigate the influx of pop-infused hits and boundary-pushing artists who are redefining what it means to strum a guitar in Nashville these days. Blake, ever the straight shooter, responds with his trademark candor, praising the innovation but defending the roots that birthed legends like Hank Williams and George Jones, emphasizing that authenticity isn't about gatekeeping but honoring the dirt road soul that pulses through every steel guitar wail. The audience hangs on every word, sensing the undercurrent of passion, but no, not the producers huddled in the control room, not the makeup artists hovering off-camera, not even the security guards by the exits could predict how quickly this spark would ignite into an inferno. As the clock ticks toward the commercial break, Michael's follow-up lands like a linebacker blindside tackle. Blake, you've been vocal about keeping country pure, but with artists crossing over from hip-hop and pop, Some say that's diluting the twang. Do you worry your stance makes you seem out of touch with the new generation? The studio falls into a hush, the kind that amplifies the hum of the lights overhead, and Blake's easy smile falters just a fraction, his blue eyes narrowing as he processes the implication, the air thickening with unspoken tension like storm clouds rolling over the plains. This isn't just a question, it's a gauntlet thrown down in the middle of primetime, challenging the very essence of a man who's built a career on being unyieldingly himself. And in that pregnant pause, the stage is set for the meltdown that's about to make headlines from coast to coast, leaving jaws on floors and keyboards ablaze with hot takes. The moment Michael's words hang in the air like smoke from a just-fired shotgun, Blake Shelton's demeanor shifts from affable rancher to cornered bull, his broad shoulders tensing under that rolled-up shirt as he sets down his water bottle with a deliberate clink that echoes louder than it should in the suddenly still studio. You can almost hear the collective intake of breath from the live audience, a sea of faces frozen in mid-clap, their morning optimism curdling into wide-eyed anticipation as Blake leans forward, his voice dropping an octave, that Oklahoma twang sharpening into something fiercer, more raw, like gravel crunching under truck tires on a back-country road. Out of touch. Michael, I've been knee-deep in the mud of this music since before you were sacking quarterbacks in the Meadowlands, pouring my gut into songs that folks play at their weddings, their funerals, their first heartbreak dances. He fires back, his hands gesturing broadly, fingers splayed like he's gripping an invisible microphone stand from one of his sold-out stadium shows where tens of thousands roar his name in unison. Michael, unflinching, counters with that prosecutor's poise honed from years of grilling guests on everything from election night drama to celebrity feuds, his smile never fully fading but his eyes locking on like laser sights. Fair point, Blake, but authenticity cuts both ways. Fans are craving fresh stories, not just the same old pickup trucks and exes in sundresses. Isn't it time to evolve, or risk fading like those old vinyl records gathering dust? The exchange crackles with electricity, the cameras zooming in tight on beads of sweat forming at Blake's temples, his jaw clenching in a way that reminds everyone of those viral clips from The Voice battles where he'd unleash a coaching tirade that left contestants trembling and viewers cheering. Off to the side, Robin Roberts shifts uncomfortably in her seat, her fingers twitching toward her earpiece as if debating whether to signal the director for a quick cutaway to weather, while the control room erupts in hushed frenzy of producers gesturing wildly, one mouthing "let it play" with a gleam of ratings gold in their eyes, knowing full well that live TV thrives on these unscripted detonations that boost Nielsen numbers overnight. Blake's retort builds like a crescendo in one of his power ballads, his voice rising with the fervor of a preacher at a tent revival. Evolve? Hell, I've evolved more times than a chameleon on a camouflage hunt. From barroom crooner to Vegas headliner, from bachelor pad survivor to family man with a Hollywood bridea, but I draw the line at pretending my truth ain't good enough because some suit in a boardroom says the kids want trap beats in their two-steps. The audience erupts in a mix of gasps and scattered applause. A few die-hard fans in the front row pumping fists in solidarity, their Blake, Blake chants starting soft but swelling like a wave crashing against the studio's polished facade. Michael, sensing the tide turning but undeterred, presses on with a follow-up that's pure dynamite. Truth? Your truth's been questioned lately, Blake. Those old tweets resurfacing about cultural purity, endorsements with brands some call exclusionary. Are you really the voice of all country? Or just the white picket fence version? It's a gut punch, delivered with the precision of a man who's interviewed presidents and popes, and Blake's face flushes crimson, veins bulging at his neck as he slams a palm on the table, the sound reverberating like thunder over the Hudson. White picket fence? You got some nerve, Strahan, sitting there in your primetime ivory tower, judging a man who's donated millions to tornado victims, mentored kids from every walk of life on national TV, and never once turned away a fan because their boots weren't broken enough. The words tumble out in a torrent, Blake's drawl giving way to a heated staccato, his body language screaming defiance as he half rises from his chair, knocking over a promotional microphone that clatters to the floor like a dropped gauntlet. Social media, ever the vigilant watchdog, ignites instantaneously, tweets flooding in from coast to coast, Blake meltdown trending within seconds, with users dissecting every syllable, some hailing Shelton as a defender of the faith, others decrying Strahan as a bully hiding behind journalistic jabs. Back in the studio, the tension coils tighter, the air heavy with the scent of hairspray and high-stakes adrenaline, as co-hosts George Stephanopoulos and Laura Spencer exchange uneasy glances from the anchor desk, the latter whispering urgently into her mic about contingency plans for the segment's overrun. Blake's not done. Far from it, his eyes blaze with the fire of 1,000 unpaid bar tabs and unfiltered opinions, leaning across the divide to point a finger not accusing, but emphatic. You wanna talk evolution? Let's talk about how shows like this trot out authentic guests only to twist their words into clickbait fodder, making us dance for your ratings like monkeys in a barrel. Michael's response is measured, but there's an edge to it now, his baritone deepening. Blake, we're just having a conversation. A country's bigger than one man's fence, and fans deserve to hear all sides, including the tough questions. But the damage is done. The polite veneer has shattered, revealing the raw underbelly of celebrity interviews where egos clash like titans in a coliseum. And as the argument spirals, with Blake invoking his late mother's wisdom about standing tall in the face of judgment and Michael countering with anecdotes from his own gridiron battles against adversity, the viewers at home lean closer to their screens, breakfast forgotten, hearts pounding in vicarious thrill. This isn't morning television anymore, it's a gladiatorial bout broadcast live to millions, with every barb and block potentially etching itself into pop culture lore. And as the red light on the camera blinks relentlessly, capturing every furrowed brow and flared nostril, one can't help but wonder if this confrontation will heal divides or widen them further in the fractious world of modern media. As the verbal volleys intensify, the studio transforms into a pressure cooker on the verge of explosive release, with Blake Shelton's frustration manifesting in a barrage of anecdotes from his hardscrabble rising from belting covers and smoke-filled data, Oklahoma dives where the pay was loose change and the crowds were rowdier than a cattle stampede, to scraping by on demo tapes mailed to indifferent Nashville labels that return them stamped return to sender like unwanted relatives at Thanksgiving. You think this is easy, Michael? Waking up at dawn to chase dreams that most folks call delusions, pouring your scars into verses that strangers weep to in their trucks on lonely highways. Blake's voice cracks just a hair, betraying the vulnerability beneath the bravado, his massive hands clenching and unclenching as if strangling the ghost of every rejection letter he's ever burned in a backyard fire pit. Michael Strahan, drawing from his own playbook of overcoming odds arising from a small-town Texas upbringing to NFL glory despite being told his frame was too lanky for a linebacker legend, mirrors the intensity, his posture straightening like he's facing down a fourth-quarter blitz. I get grit, Blake, I've lived it, bled for it on fields where one wrong hit ends careers. But grit without growth is stagnation, and countries stagnating under purists who fear the remix as much as they fear change itself. The back and forth escalates, each man weaving personal tapestries of triumph laced with the bitterness of battles won and lost. Blake recounting the sting of critics labeling his early hits as hillbilly schlock, while Michael shares tales of media hounds questioning his post-football pivot as a gimmick rather than genuine reinvention. The audience, now fully invested, murmurs and wave as a supporters of Blake, cheering his every defense of tradition like it's a battle cry at a county fair hoedown, while the vocal minority nods along with Michael's push for inclusivity, their smartphones aloft capturing shaky footage destined for viral eternity on TikTok Reels and Instagram stories. In the control booth, the director's face gleams with opportunistic glee, barking orders to stay tight on faces, milk this gold, knowing that ad revenue spikes with controversy's sweet nectar, even as a junior producer frets over potential lawsuits or sponsor pullouts from brands like Blake's LA Red Empire that peddle Nashville nights and comfort food. Suddenly, Blake's temper crests like a flash flooding canyon country. He surges to his feet, chair scraping back with a screech that slices through the din, towering over the desk like a oak in a thunderstorm. Stagnation? That's rich coming from a guy who traded cleats for cue cards, reading prompts off a teleprompter while the real world's out here fighting to keep its heartbeat authentic. The accusation lands like a sucker punch, Michael's eyes widening in genuine surprise before narrowing in retaliation, his voice booming with the authority of a man who's anchored segments on global crises. Authentic? Walking off mid-interview isn't authenticity, Blakey. It's ego unchecked, the kind that alienates the very fans you're claiming to protect. Gasps ripple through the crowd, a few whistles piercing the chaos, as security personnel edge closer from the wings, their walkie-talkies crackling with standby alerts, while Robin Roberts leaps into mediator mode, her soothing timbre cutting through like a lighthouse beam in fog. Gentlemen, let's take a breath. This is Good Morning America, not Monday Night Raw. We're here to celebrate music, not manufacture mayhem. But the momentum's unstoppable, a runaway freight train of pent-up resentments hurtling toward derailment, with Blake pacing now, his boots thudding against the glossy floor, gesturing wildly as he unloads on the Hollywood machine that chews up artists like chump for the tabloid sharks, citing buddies like Jason Aldean who've weathered similar storms of scrutiny over lyrics deemed too rich to raw. Michael, refusing to yield ground, parries with examples from his broadcast battles, from interviewing civil rights icons to grilling politicians on inclusivity, underscoring how silence on evolution equates to complicity and exclusion. Blake, your music moves mountains, but if those mountains block the view for new climbers or women, people of color breaking barriers in a genre that's historically gated, then what's the cost of your purity? The philosophical joust elevates this bat, transforming it from petty peak to a microcosm of broader cultural wars, where tradition tangos uneasily with progress, and as the argument loops through layers of historia from Johnny Cash's outlaw ethos to Bianca Tilda copyright bold cowboy Carter incursion, the studio lights seem to dim under the weight of it all, casting long shadows that dance across faces etched with fervor. Viewers flood comment sections with fervor, some penning essays on the sanctity of genre boundaries, others lauding the raw humanity of two titans clashing without scripts, their phones buzzing with notifications as clips circulate faster than gossip at a beauty parlor. Back on set, the confrontation teeters on the brink, Blake's chest heaving with the rhythm of unresolved rage, Michael's calm facade cracking just enough to reveal the competitor beneath, and in that suspended heartbeat, the world holds its breath, wondering if reconciliation or rupture waits around the next heated volley. With the studio simmering like a pot about to boil over, Blake Shelton's restrained phrase thread by thread, his narrative veering into the visceral territory of lived scars, the divorce from Miranda Lambert that tabloids turned into a three-ring circus, plastering heartbreak across supermarket tracks while he licked wounds in isolation, channeling agony into hits like God's Not Dead, But I'm Not Done Yet, that resonated with the broken-hearted faithful. You sit there probing like a therapist on deadline, Michael, but you don't know the half of rebuilding from rubble, of staring down empty arenas post-scandal and clawing back with nothing but a six-string in stubborn spite. Blake's proclamation thunders, his accent thickening under duress, evoking the dust-choked drawls of forebears who tilled unforgiving soil for generations in the Sooner State. Michael Strahan, channeling his own narrative of redemption from a rookie cut from training camp to a Hall of Famer who stared down skepticism with sacks and smile essay retorts with unflagging poise, his gestures expansive as if diagramming a game-winning play. Stubborn spite, that's the fuel, Blake, but blind it with nostalgia, and you're sidelining yourself while the game's passing by. Look at how Luke Combs blends old soul with new fire, drawing crowds you'd kill for without alienating the base. The dialectic deepens, each salvo layered with lore from their respective realms, Blake invoking Merle Haggard's anthems of working-class defiance as bulwarks against dilution, Michael countering with tales of his Good Morning America evolution, from sports desk rookie to cultural commentator who's facilitated dialogues on everything from Me Too reckonings to racial reckonings in the NFL locker room. The live feed captures it all in unflinching high def, the subtle tick of Blake's eyelid, the vein pulsing at Michael's temple while the audience sways like wheat and wind, factions forming organically with cheers for Shelton's stand on sovereignty and murmurs of approval for Strahan's summons to solidarity. In the rafters, lighting techs freeze mid-adjustment, transfixed by the unfolding opera of outrage, as producers in the truck weigh the ethics of amplification versus intervention. One veteran murmuring, "This'll be Emmy bait or lawsuit lunch. Either way, it's must-see." Abruptly, Blake's fury funnels into a torrent of specifics, railing against woke-washing of country playlists where algorithms favor viral virility over vocal verity, his examples ranging from the backlash to Morgan Wallen's slurs to the triumphs of Post Malone's genre-hopping forays that left purists pounding podiums. It's not fear, Michaela, it's fidelity to the folks who built this, from barn dances and back porches, not boardrooms and bots. Michael's riposte is razor-sharp, drawing parallels to his own crossroads moments, like transitioning from Fox NFL Sunday to GMA amid whispers of selling out his athlete authenticity for anchor allure. Fidelity without flexibility is fossilization. Blake I've Bent Without Breaking hosted segments on George Floyd's legacy that opened eyes without erasing my gridiron gospel. A country could do the same, invite the outsiders in without evicting the old guard. The repartee ricochets, a verbal volleyball match where spikes of sarcasm meet blocks of biography. Blake decrying the coastal elite curation of airwaves that sideline Southern symphonies for synth-heavy spectacles, while Michael marshals metaphors from his memoir Wake Up with Purpose, extolling adaptability as the true hallmark of legacy. Social spheres supernova with speculation, X-threads threading needles through the needle's eye of nuance. Conservative commentators crowning Blake a colossus against conformity, progressive pundits praising Michael's mettle and mirroring societal mirrors. On set, the symbiosis sours into schism as Blake, emboldened by audience adulation, veers into veiled volleys at Strahan's own reinvention, quipping, "Easy to preach progress when you've got network nets cushioning your leaps, but try leaping without Tima from obscurity to oracle status on your terms, not theirs." The bar bites, Michael's jocularity jettisoned for a jaw-set rejoinder, oracle, try underdog, Blakey. Every leap's a risk, every reinvention a reckoning, just like your pivot from voice judge to solo savant but denying the dialogue. That's the real retreat. Robin Roberts, ever the equilibrium expert, interjects with empathic eloquence, "We've all leaped, gentlemen, let's land this with grace, for the music, for the morning," but her words wash over like whispers in a whirlwind. The contretemps careens toward climax, Blake's barbs broadening to indict the entire apparatus of ambush journalism that weaponizes whimsy for web traffic, Michael mounting a defense of candid catalysis that catalyzes change through challenge. As the argument arcs through arcs of indignation, the studio's sanctity strains, boundaries blurring between broadcast and brawl, with every exchanged glare and gesticulation etching epics into ephemeral airwaves, priming the pump for the personal eruption that's mere heartbeats away from erupting into infamy.